Okay, we'll start off with the money thing. You came into the relationship more of a spender.
You came into the relationship more spoiled. I definitely felt like a judgment.
If you're in a relationship, you have to know that the other person has something they're bringing to the table.
Kids was a really, really hard conversation for us.
I felt like I was right, you were wrong.
Go through those awkward conversations and those hard conversations, because on the other side, you could have magic. Welcome back to another episode of At Our Place with Megan and Sherell. I'm Sherell.
And I'm Megan.
What's up, guys?
Hey.
It's been a minute.
If you are new here, welcome. We're so glad to have you. We are married. We're besties. We do a lot of stuff together. Why are you laughing?
Because you get so formal every time you do our little intro.
Okay. What's a better way to say it?
The way you said it is fine.
Okay.
It's going to always laugh at you.
Oh. We are Megan and Sherell Stonson
Oh my
tuning
God.
into At Our Place podcast.
If you know us, you know what's up. If you're new here, hi. We're Megan and Sherell. We're a married couple. We live by the beach. We used to have 2 dogs, but now we have 1. He's kind of an asshole, but we love him. What's new? We do music and yeah.
We actually just had a gig last weekend. It's all blurring together, but we played at a winery and it was super pretty.
Did you like it? They had us at a different spot than usual.
Yeah, I liked it. The people were nice. It was good.
I like that area because the winery, it's at it's at Halter Ranch, and it's like at this crazy stunning winery.
It's so pretty.
So beautiful. And then they have this place called the Gardens that's on the property, and it's this old Victorian, right?
I guess.
This old Victorian style house, and it's just stunning, and it reminds me of England and places that I used to live in, and they have these gardens with all of these like picnic tables and old school like iron tables, and it was really lovely. I enjoyed myself.
The whole time Sherell was daydreaming about that being our future home.
Yes, I was like, this is what I want. When I say my dream home, I mean the garden looks like this.
I actually would really love that. How are you doing, baby?
I'm good. I'm sore from physical therapy. I got in.
Yeah. You guys, she got in. Not to MIT or what other fancy place,
but to PT.
She got into PT, physical therapy for her injuries.
Yes. It was actually at our gym, so it was pretty cool.
Did they wait? It was at the gym, but they didn't have you like go on gym equipment, did they?
Well, actually, there's like a whole separate room. It's like you go in and then you make a left turn that I never noticed.
I never
noticed. And then in there, it's this huge room. It's like a secondary gym.
Wow.
But it's just for physical therapy patients.
Well, okay.
And it's like 2 stories high.
Door.
It's like huge.
It's like you have to have like a password to the back of the
Well, you're not allowed in there, and yeah, it kind of feels like a speakeasy but a gym. And then you go in there and it's like this like brick room with mirrors on the wall and all this fancy gym equipment and massage tables and
wow. Sign me up.
And also physical therapists kind of remind me of kids. It's like they have something for everything.
What do you? Oh yeah, it's like, here, let me whip out this thing. Oh, let me see.
Yeah. He was like, we gotta try giving your ankle some more dexterity. So marbles, and he ran, he ran over to this closet that had a bunch of like colorful looking toy things.
I've got marbles.
And he grabbed a cup of marbles, threw them on the ground, and said, "Come pick these up with your toes." So I spent 5 minutes picking up marbles with my toes.
I'm trying to, I know you told me this earlier, but I'm trying to like imagine it again. I mean, like if I walked in and I was like,
You'd be so confused.
Sherell's at her physical therapy session, and then I see you like picking up little marbles with your toes. Like it's just so
I'm doing like this crab walk, and then he put like a band, like an exercise band really, really tight above my knees. So I couldn't like pull my knees, like separate them. So I had to keep them separate and walk around the gym doing this crab walk.
Yeah.
I had to do a lot of stuff. It was a lot of work. And he was like, that's the best you got? go harder. So I
Wow.
was like, okay.
Go off. Love it.
Good. It was good for me. Which was funny because the lady before me was this like elderly lady who could barely like move. She was moving very, very, very slowly. And he was so patient with her.
He was like, so he kind of sounds like he tailors things to who
Yes.
the person is.
And then he got to me and he was like, get up. That's the best you can do.
He knows you can do it.
Walk on your toes 150 steps. I was like, really?
150 steps.
That's what he told me.
Oh my gosh. Other than being sore, how are you, baby?
I'm good. I'm actually feeling really good this week. So,
Aww.
yes.
Things are looking up for the Stonesons.
Yes. How are you, babe?
I'm doing well. I feel like we went camping last weekend.
Hey,
So that
did
was
you
really
like it?
nice.
Did you have fun?
I did. I think every time we go camping, I have a better and better time because
You were in a foul mood when we drove down there. We just like for
Wait, was
everyone
I?
to know. You were in a horrid, foul mood.
we kind of set ourselves up for failure because I was like, I'm gonna work remotely like I normally do that day, and then you're gonna pack the car during the day, and then we're just gonna go. Sounds great, but it's like getting everything ready for camping is such an extensive process. So
Yeah. But I feel like I've become more and more efficient every time.
that's true. But yeah, what I was saying was like we showed up there and set up the tent, and it's just getting easier and easier. And then we only went for one night, and then we had a gig the next day, which was a lot to do. But I think
that was the kicker.
that was
And I started my period while we were there. The one day we were there, I started my period. So that was nice.
that was nice. Yeah, you made a whole separate trip to the store to get things you needed.
Yes.
And some more firewood.
I got the firewood so people wouldn't see me carrying around tampons.
Which is funny that you do that because I'm at the age, which you're older than me, but I'm at the age now where I'm like, I don't give
I think it's because I'm a stud. That's like, I don't want people seeing this.
Oh, you're like,
I was like,
tough girl
studs don't
over
have
here.
periods.
What? That's so weird.
That's not a thing we do. We don't talk about
so
this.
weird.
We don't talk about that once a month where we just become so needy and emotional and
Oh
irrational.
my gosh, that's really funny. Well, but we ended up needing it because we wanted to make some more s'mores.
More s'mores.
More s'mores.
But did you have fun camping?
Yes, I did have fun. I really enjoyed it. So I think I'd like to go again.
Good, because I already talked to our friends and we decided it's going to be like a monthly thing that we do.
Oh, that's nice. It was just, it's
They're already
nice.
texting me to figure out when we're going to book and what site we're going to do.
Ooh, that sounds fun. It's just, yeah, it's nice to, it's cleansing to the mind to just have to walk from a tent to the bathroom and then go and wash your dishes after you make your breakfast. And it's just like a slower.
It's a simple life.
Yeah, it's a simple life living in the woods.
You were meant to be a little outdoorsy girly.
I guess so. I don't know. I just like sitting around in the sun with my friends.
Okay, so then hypothetically, how would you feel about buying some land and just having like a cabin on it in like a simple life? Like having chickens
Maybe
and
eventually.
a garden and like simple.
Maybe eventually. I think part of the reason I like camping especially is when we do it with friends. Not that we can't go together ever, but it's just my favorite part is sitting around the campfire and talking and joking and eating
And you can't do any of those with me.
Wha- Here we go.
Megan and her need for community. I think that you are more extroverted than I am these days.
I don't know. Maybe.
I think you are, because I do need people, but I feel like I've gotten very used to being on my own the last 2 years of not working for anybody else.
You've dug into your more shy side, introverted side.
Yes, and I've become extremely creative and I don't know, just dove into that world instead of spending all this time with people. I go days where you're the only person I see.
Mm. Is that a red flag? I don't know. For us.
It's not my fault. We share one car. I worked from home and you go to the office. So I'm like, well, it's just me and Lico. And then I've had this like ankle injury. So then I'm like, how am I even supposed, like, where am I supposed to go?
Around the block, in the yard.
The yard. There's nobody hanging out in the yard.
Go be one of those people. There's so many people around here that I feel like put out their camping chairs outside of their house and they just
watch.
They just sit and they just hang out.
They just watch people and watch the ocean, and it's like, you're weird, but also like I get it.
Yeah.
Like, you paid to live here, so enjoy it.
One last update that I'm super excited about is you and I are going to San Diego.
Nice.
I don't know if I should broadcast it because it's like a work trip, but you're allowed to come.
I think that's awesome. It's like a vacation for me because I'm not going to the conference. I'm just chilling in a hotel that I don't have to pay for.
That's true.
So
I'm excited to get some valuable marketing information.
You're such
out
a
of this
dork.
conference.
Your boss is not listening.
Maybe she is.
Hi.
Hey.
What's
Thank
going on?
Thank you so much for, you're just such a great
sponsor
role
for our podcast.
I mean, our life is like sponsored by any employers that we might have.
Yes, and also sponsored by us and our hopes and dreams. And you people,
this podcast
when you rate our podcast and share it,
sponsored
you are
by
sponsoring us. So thank you for being our sponsor.
Yes, I always forget that. Like and subscribe. 5-star review.
Only 5-star review.
Right?
If you guys know, you know. I'll only accept 5-star reviews or 1-star reviews.
Yes, we strive for excellence around here in the Stoneson household. Anything less than that is unacceptable.
Yes.
Now. But I am excited for a little a trip away.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to take you. I am excited to go to San Diego to experience a different beach. I'm excited to just hang out in a different area with you because
it's gonna be fun.
We've had a lot of ups and downs the past few months, and we could really use getting out of the house.
Yes, and I'm starting another job soon, so it's like a nice getaway before that. But I have to say, I'm calling out my friend. I won't use her name, but you know who you are. She also doesn't listen. My friend literally said, man, I wish I could go on a vacation once I told her.
Yeah.
And I looked at her and I thought, you literally just got back from going to South America.
You know, some people just need a vacation. They live for the weekend. They need a vacation every week, every couple weeks.
I think the last vacation I took, like true vacation, was our honeymoon.
Yeah, that's the thing is you and I are we try to be so mindful of our money and figuring that out. And so it's like, we really don't get, right now in our lives, we don't get to go on very many vacations and things like that.
Sometimes we'll go on a trip, like to go see your sister graduate or like, well, to go to your grandma's memorial.
Yeah, go to
like
somebody's wedding.
It's not like
we go to weddings
like it's
too.
things. It's like there for a purpose. It's not like a getaway just for you and I.
There's always some sort of purpose. So, and even with this one, it'll be really fun. But there is like a purpose to us going, and so I'm super happy about it because it's what we can do right now.
Yep. And
also just for my own enjoyment, using my work resources to better myself. But I'm excited to be there at a hotel with you.
And you're going to network. So I think that's really cool. I'm excited to see you in your element.
Your network is your net worth.
Oh.
Hopefully everybody there makes buco bucks.
You're like, all of you people are too poor to be in my network.
No, we'll see. They're all marketing people. So they got to be doing something right.
Yeah. What if I crash the segments? Can I? I bring like a suit or something. Can I like crash?
Like just pretend. I think.
What if I was the keynote speaker and I didn't tell you?
How would you? Literally, how would you be?
I'm gonna talk about being an entrepreneur.
For what? For this? For this podcast?
No. I want to talk about following your dreams and your passion.
I mean, okay. Here's the thing: is you are an excellent speaker.
I know.
But you don't have the experience just yet.
Hurts.
You could speak it. You could speak at churches and stuff because you have.
Wow, I can speak in front of people about God, but I can't. I'm not worthy to speak in front of you guys about marketing.
Yeah.
Interesting. I could tell you about God, but I can't tell you about marketing.
Yeah. I
Put
mean, I'm
that on
sure
a
you could come
t-shirt.
up with something, but
She's basically saying stay in your lane, Stoneson.
yeah, I'm going to the conference. You're staying in the
I'm
hotel
gonna be the keynote
room.
speaker. I'm gonna do it for free too, just to show you.
Who would show up for that? Like, are you going to be standing in the lobby, like starting to, like those?
I have charisma.
It's like those pastors that speak at like a college campus. They just stand there and just start spewing things, and students
Spewing things. It's called preaching.
Yeah. And students just sit around just to ask the like difficult questions to try to like invigorate them.
Oh my gosh. I really hope I do not ever give those vibes.
No, you don't. You're an excellent speaker. And I look forward to your keynote speech one day.
Thanks. You're not invited to hear it.
Yeah, because I'll be backstage.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, now that my ego has thoroughly been bruised, look, guys, if you ever want to, be humble, like if you're ever struggling with humility, get married. Because your partner will bring you down so swiftly.
That's true. But they will also pump you up so much. So
I'm waiting on that part.
it's an equal. Shut up. Just stop it. Now you're just joshing with me.
Well, we got a funny listener question. You can email your questions to us, by the way, guys, by emailing us at outerplacepodcast@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm. We will check the email. We will try to.
We will check the email. We will check our DMs. So we got a question. Basically along the lines of like, how do we talk to a partner about money?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Which also kind of opened up my brain to think about like, well, how do you talk to your partner about anything big? Because money is one of those really big, touchy subjects.
Yes, there's lots of touchy subjects or potentially touchy subjects.
Mm-hmm.
For us, one of those obviously was money. One was like kids, like what we're thinking about kids in the future.
Where we wanted to live. That was a big one early on because you wanted to move out of the area and I was in the area here.
Yeah. What else is there?
Marriage.
Yeah. Potentially like external family dynamics if there's anything complicated there. So like there's just tons of huge conversations that if you're like me, you hate confrontation, you hate big discussions, you just like it's something to grow and to get used to, which I've definitely grown in that. Okay, we'll start off with the money thing.
Okay.
That question.
What are your thoughts?
So this situation, it's kind of like how do I talk to my partner about money when they might have a different value on money than I do?
It's always those values.
Like
it's always those values.
You sound like
I'm serious. You can have different beliefs, but if you have different values, you're gonna get in a tricky situation.
Well, maybe it's not values. Maybe it's just if you and your partner have a different background or different habits with money, it's difficult because you came into the relationship more of a spender and I came in more of a saver, penny pincher, annoying person.
You came into the relationship more spoiled. That's what happened.
Wait.
You had your parents' little cash flow. Your parents floating you, paying your rent for years.
I was a saver, but yes, at the
It's
same
a lot.
time,
I'm just saying it's easy to save when your parents are paying your bills. That's
100%. That's true. That is true.
So don't sit there and say, "Oh, Sherell's bad at saving money and I'm so good at it." You had all your bills taken care of.
Now, right now, you're seeing in real time.
Shut up.
A big conversation that we need to have.
I am going to dump this water on your lap.
No. No, that's true. Like I just came out of college and I was like, "Hey, mom and dad, do I start paying my own rent now?" Like that was.
They're like, "Yes, you do."
And I was working.
You're an adult.
I was working part-time, so I didn't even know what it was like to work full-time and to pay for your own bills. So that's where I was coming from when we first got together.
And I was making minimum wage, less than minimum wage because I was injured. I was on a workers' comp case, and when you get workers' comp, you get 2/3 of your actual pay. It sucks. Don't do workers' comp if you can help it, but I couldn't help it because I was injured. Yeah, so I had a couple $100 in my account, and you had tens of thousands of dollars in your account. And you were like, you're bad at money. And I'm like, you're a little bit spoiled.
So how did we start any sort of conversations? Because we just naturally were immature at the beginning of it, right? Like I was passive aggressive, or like, oh, I'm paying for the groceries, but it's not quite equal, like that kind of stuff.
I paid for groceries.
No, I know, but there were just some times where I needed to pay for things because you literally were not making very much money because of your workers'
it was
comp.
like I can't. It was like the days where it's like my cell phone is coming out the same day as my insurance, and we just got Chipotle. Like I can't pay for everything.
No, totally.
I don't know. Here's the thing, and this applies for. Also, these are just our thoughts, so like you don't have to listen to us, but you are listening to our podcast, so good for you. I don't know. I think that this applies to all big conversations, but when you're with somebody, it just depends on what point in the relationship you are at. Because if you're just seeing somebody, like, and you have no, like, I don't know, like, you're not committed to them in, like, a bigger way than this person that I'm seeing.
Okay, so for me, like, seeing somebody and dating is different. So if
That's what I'm saying.
I'm saying, like, if you're dating someone, because you can be dating someone, but you haven't had those big conversations about, like,
because
marriage or being together forever. Like, you're still testing the waters. So that's, for me, like, if you're there, maybe it's not time to have those conversations.
If you're just seeing somebody, I think that these conversations are a bit big. If you're dating somebody, like you're committed to them and you're dating them, then I think it is important to have these conversations. But just know, like, there's a separation between you and them. Like, you and I were living together, and there was still a separation between you and I, because, you know, we didn't make that, like, commitment to be partners for life or anything like that. We were, like, dating each other, very serious about it, but also we, like, moved in, like, immediately after we started dating.
Yeah, I think we did have a pretty unique situation in terms of money and living together. But in the end, like, when we started to get on the same page about it was when we were talking about engagement and, like, marriage in the future.
Yeah, but not everybody has that path. I think something that is important to remember is that you should just be curious when you have these conversations, because early on for us, I definitely felt like a judgment.
Yeah.
Like, you weren't curious, you were annoyed.
I felt like I was right, you were wrong. We should both, you know, be able to save and be wise with our money and, like, have the same mindset, essentially. And that's just like the wrong perspective, because, like, if you're in a relationship, you have to know that the other person has something they're bringing to the table that is, like, enhancing to you, that's going to better you. Like, you just have to, like, respect who they are and be curious about it, like you said.
Yeah, like, ask questions, because that person is not beholden to you. Like, I know we all care about our people, like our partners and all this, but, like, you can break up. Like, they are not beholden to you, and if they are not financially bound to you, or, like, their future is not tied to your future, then I'm just saying, like, come at the conversation with curiosity, and also come at the conversation with respect, because they have been a grown-up before you got there.
Hopefully.
And,
like, I think all that's important too, if you are talking about, you know, being intentional about marriage, or just, like, intentional about being long term. I think that's also good stuff to have, like, because you don't want to have all this stuff building up inside of you of judging the other person or thinking, why do they think this way when they should think that way? Like, you have your own perspective, and you have to really believe that they have a totally different life experience than you, and that they might have something to bring to the table that will open up your mind, because that's why you're together. So with being curious with your partner, I think it could happen at any stage, and it would be like safe just to like open up conversation. So if it has to do with money, for example, you could be like, and this is speaking of, I wish things happened like this with us. So it's kind of like things will happen how they happen.
Yeah.
And you grow like with each other. But it could just be like, hey, you know, I remember when I was a kid, I got these little allowances for doing chores, and I never did my chores. It was so funny how spoiled I was, or, you know, how is money for you growing up, or like just kind of picking apart those pieces of like reminiscing about your childhood, seeing how things happen that way. Yeah.
And be genuinely curious, because then that like for me in that situation, it allowed me to be vulnerable without feeling judged. It allowed me to like laugh and reminisce and just like, I don't know, be open with you and show you who I was, and also learn about you. Because if you talk and you share about your life, then a lot of habits that we have as adults are going to start to make a lot of sense.
Yes. And I remember when things shifted and we started becoming healthier talking about it, there was a point when we were going to like In-N-Out and you ordered a drink, and I growing up,
you got so mad.
When I was growing up, we never got like, I won't say never, but it was just kind of like we didn't get a lot of extra drinks and sodas and stuff. And then like,
you invited me to In-N-Out. You invited me on a date to In-N-Out, and I ordered a drink, and you got so pissed off.
Yeah, I don't know.
It makes sense.
Bad.
No, you don't have to feel bad. It's more of like an amusing thing. Yeah. You can feel however you feel. I'm just saying, I'm not like, isn't she crazy?
Thank you for giving me that grace.
I'm just saying, like, it makes sense given, you know, who your parents are, how your mom grew up. Like,
yeah, they're kind of frugal, and it's kind of like, we don't get a lot of extra things, and occasionally we get extra things. But to me, it was like a drink is an extra thing, like a lemonade or whatever. And so then after I was upset, it's like, okay, why do I feel this way? How was my childhood? And then you were like, oh, in my childhood, you know, things like that didn't matter. Like, we got what we wanted.
Yeah, it's like if you were invited out to eat, then you could eat. And it's kind of like a rude thing if you invite somebody to go out to eat and then you limit what they can have. It's like, well, why did you ask me then?
Yeah. And you taught me like to just enjoy things more, you know, to get what I want sometimes. And so
get the nicer quality things instead of the little off brands.
Okay. Called out.
Yeah. So be curious and be respectful. Just remember that, like, you know, they were functioning before you got to the scenes, and they're not a project for you to fix. Nobody likes that. Nobody feels safe with that. Nobody wants to be in a long-term relationship with somebody who just wants to fix them all the time.
Yeah.
Like, another thing I've been thinking about is, like, when you're having these conversations, like, you caring about how I felt about money pointed out to me, oh, you see like a future with me. You know, like, this isn't just for fun. This isn't just for like right now, because there's like, you have to like define the relationship. Like, are you guys like right now? Are you planning a future together? Like, where are you guys? Are you gonna move in?
It's almost like the reason that you care about somebody else, or the reason why you might be projecting onto them, judging them, is because like you want to be in unison with them. You want them to be someone you stick with.
Yeah, like if you're starting to when you started to boss me around about my life, it was kind of like, it put a smile on my face, even though it irritated me, because I knew that you wanted a future with me. And you're trying to like mold me into the partner that you wanted and mold us into a relationship that you wanted. And I was like, okay, she sees this as more than just a right now thing.
I guess so. Yeah.
So then, what about kids? Because I think kids was a really, really hard conversation for us to.
That was to even just start.
I remember one Mother's Day, I said to you, we were in bed and we were having a sweet moment of gazing into each other's eyes. We were about to FaceTime your parents. And I said, man, you're going to be an amazing mother one day. And you
I
exploded.
flipped out for sure.
You got so mad.
I think I just got freaked out because I know you're a little bit slightly older than me.
I'm
and
5 years older than you.
But here's like, I think when I flip out, it's not like yelling, screaming, stuff like that. But just emotionally, like, what is happening? I think it's because I have a big insecurity in something. And so for like having kids, I didn't picture myself as I want to be a mom someday. That's just something core about me. Like, I never really had that feeling. And so I think looking around, you see those women that are like, I really, really wanted to be a mom, that kind of stuff. And I admire that. And I wish I had that. And so I think it was just an insecurity of like, why don't I feel that? I do, I picture our lives down the road, having a family. Like, I do have family that they don't have kids and they're happy and they're traveling and stuff like that. But I'm like, that's not us. But it felt very big and confusing for me. So, and you had a different perspective. And so us together was like, what's happening?
I guess for me, well, to be fair with everything, this was like a few months after we were married. So
okay, which is
it's
the
like very
time.
early. I don't know. I think it's early.
It's probably a good. I mean, you're supposed to talk about kids before you get married. Anyways.
Which we did. We talked about kids.
Maybe
you were like, I want to be a mom someday.
Yeah.
I think that's what you said.
I guess. I think it just sounds really hard. It sounds really invasive to your life in a good way, obviously, but in a scary way too. So, but
you would say sometimes not in a good way.
It's a mixed bag, but I know that it's like this overwhelmingly fulfilling experience a lot of the time. People. And then it's really, really challenging, which from what I've seen, but
I don't know. I was driving around and I saw all of these like young parents with these young kids and they looked ragged and exhausted. And I was like, I don't know about that.
Yeah. I think there was a lot of what made it so big was there's a lot of fear for me of I want to do music and I want to figure out my career and stuff. And all of that's going to get really, basically off the table if I'm giving myself to a child, So with you, how we started that conversation, I think you just kept giving me grace and kept showing up and kept telling me what was your truth and opening it up. And I don't like that you always kind of had to be the one to open up that conversation, but maybe you're just like more mature about it to begin with.
No, it's that I'm older than you. So if that's what you mean by more mature, then yeah. But like, I watched your body language. Like every time we talked about kids, you would tense up. You would just do that thing you just did, which is, but then you wouldn't release. You would just
I was just breathing just now.
No, I know, but you would like hold it, all the tension in there, and you would set your jaw, and I would read your body language, and I was like, this is a conversation that she feels uncomfortable to talk about, but this is so important to me,
right? Because
I'm 5 years older than her. And so for us, being a queer couple, like you have to be extremely intentional with having kids. You can't just wing it and then, okay, we're pregnant when we're pregnant.
Yeah. So what are some tips for a big conversation like that? There's curiosity, there's other stuff, but when you really have real feelings about it, so it's different than money because it's like, hey, I have been wanting, I want kids and I pictured myself as a mom my whole life and it's really important to me, XYZ. Like you feel that in your soul and you need me to know that and you need us to talk about it. and I need to picture our future and all of that stuff. So like, how do you start that? Because it's not just like a nice little curiosity, like, oh, do you want kids? Like it's I don't know.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think choosing, like, I have to know how I actually feel. So you just put a lot of really big words on me. I don't feel it in my soul. I mean, no, like, I don't feel like having kids in my soul. I feel like I do want kids, but I didn't, I wasn't sure about kids when I was younger because I wasn't even sure that I would ever be married because I was in the closet.
Oh.
So I just didn't really see much of a future for me, period.
Well, that's sad.
And then I lived by this stupid motto, which was live single, die young.
The church. Hooray.
It was like, I want to be a martyr somewhere. And I am just, I'm probably going to have one of those tragic stories. And I had this weird church tell me, like, you have not me, but they were like, do any of you have a calling on your life to be a martyr for the faith? And now I'm like, that's really fucked up. Like, why would I want to die?
Oh man. Oh my gosh.
But I thought that was me. I was like, I'm not really going to have much of a future. I'm just going to be this really badass, awesome Christian woman who does all these like really crazy entrepreneurial things and changes the world in awesome ways. And then I die. And that would be my life, like Joan of Arc.
Oh my gosh.
But I don't want that anymore.
Once you realized you had a beautiful future waiting ahead of you.
Yes. And that the scarier thing for me would be to like live and be happy and joyful in front of people authentically. Like that's the bigger story of redemption. And that's the real power, is having a big, full life. So I wanted that with you. I started to see a future with you pretty clearly early on, and I did picture kids, especially because like I come from a really big family. I have a million nephews and nieces. I see how much joy they bring me as their aunt, and so I imagine having one of my own, and I'm like, that'd be so fun. Like I adore my nephews and nieces.
Yeah.
So, what was your question?
I think it's just like how does that conversation begin? So imagine, somebody really wants to
How do you talk to your partner?
Yeah, how do you bring it up? How do you have grace for each other? What if one person is more like me, where they just in their body, like they don't want to talk about it, they don't feel the need to. Like for me, a lot of it was practical. Like we don't have the money for a kid and we're not going to for a while, so why even talk about it now? But it's like part of that was all those fears too, and it was an excuse.
Yeah, it's just meeting in the middle, because I had to be vulnerable and actually share how important it was to me.
Yeah.
I even, just being real with you guys, I even told Megan at one point, well, if you don't want kids, I wish you would have told me that before we got married, because that would have been a deal breaker for me.
Yeah. And I didn't feel that way, but I know the way I was coming off was probably like
it was like years of us not being allowed to talk about it.
Just having a hard time with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was both like me coming to terms with what I actually wanted and knowing what I wanted and why and who I wanted it with. And then also listening to you, because all of your fears were also really valid. And you are not like me, where you just want to dream about the future. You want to be practical. You want to actually have the tools to build the thing that you're dreaming about. And if you don't have the tools to build it, then it kind of makes you sad to talk about it.
Yeah. And I also will say part of all of those fears had to do with not having a lot of role models for what we want to do, of like having successful like careers, being musicians, stuff like that, just like building up
Still having our dreams.
Yeah, building up our legacy, doing what we're passionate about, and having children, because a lot of people in our lives, like, it's hard to not see like the big sacrifices that they've made and staying home and being a parent, or, you know, like choosing not to follow their dreams because of it.
Well, you have role models who gave up their careers and their dreams to be parents. And that's like an amazing sacrifice, but it's also not one that you or I want to do.
Yeah. But I might also have role models that are successful and they have kids. So it's just took a long time to even open up that conversation. One thing I will say is, in my mind, I thought we don't even need to talk about this right now. We don't need to. And a lot of people will feel that way if their partner's like, we need to talk about something important. And you're like, no, we don't need to yet. We'll just push it off. The reason you need to have these conversations now, like when you bring them up or when your partner brings them up, is because without it, you might end up getting to that point where it's not that it's too late, but like
there's too much tension built up around it.
Right. Like, even if you don't need to talk about it right now, even if you don't, even if it's way, way off, like, hey, let's talk about what we're doing when we're retiring. Like, who knows? Even if it feels way off, you need to sit in being uncomfortable, and your partner needs to agree to doing that too, because it's like you said, meeting each other in the middle. And if one of you isn't willing to be uncomfortable with you, then how are you going to grow together? Because that's the growing pains, right?
And that's what a relationship is. It's constantly changing and shifting while you're with this other person. You can be who you are, completely happy, single. You can be who you are and completely happy just doing your own path, and you don't have to give and change the way that a relationship will change you. But if you're in a relationship, especially for like a long haul, it's going to change you, and it's going to require you to get over yourself and to be vulnerable and to be humble and listen to people. It's going to require you to get past your insecurities. That's just what love is. That's what a relationship is. That's even in friendships, you do that to an extent. So if you're choosing a relationship, you're kind of signing up for that.
Yeah. And it's like knowing what you're worth and what you're not willing to change, but also knowing that we all grow up kind of flawed in some ways, or like our brains are all wired in different ways based off of how we grew up. And just knowing that, you might have a bad habit that you don't even know is there, or you might have a way of thinking that could be so much better. You just don't know, and it might feel wrong or like uncomfortable, but just being willing to question, like not being like, oh, I'm going to change just like that, but like being willing to question, is what I'm feeling true? Is what I'm feeling good? If I change it, will it be bad? Like just questioning yourself instead of just like, well, my partner's putting so much pressure on me, or my partner's doing X, Y, Z.
Yeah. And I think a big thing to remember is when you're having these big conversations of whether they're about like, where are we going to live? How are we going to save money if we are, like, are we going to have kids? All of those questions are about building something together. So you have to decide if you want to build something with that person. And if you do, and they do, this is how it goes.
Yep. This is how it goes.
You just get over yourself.
You do. You start to see and respect the other person more, and you bring yourself to the table humbly. And on both ends.
Yeah, and there's room for their fears. There's room for their fears, and there's room for the insecurities, because when I bring out my fears and my insecurities and my childhood trauma, my wife goes, that makes sense. And here's why we don't need to worry about that today. So, you know, it's like, it's healing. It grows me up and it changes me. And it's good. It's good to have those hard and beautiful conversations, because I can tell you what we have today is different than what we had 3 years ago when we got married, or 5 years ago when we got together. And it's because we built this, what we have now, together.
We're so much stronger. We have so much. That's the thing, is it's going to be hard to have those really big conversations, but it just, hopefully, if you're with the right person, and if, you know, if you're right together and you build each other up and your best versions with each other, then like those big conversations get easier and easier and easier. And sometimes, like us, it'll take a few years of little conversations to be like, okay, we're kind of all right talking about kids and talking. So it's just kind of like chipping away at these big things that it just gets easier. So I think there's that hope. And if you've been in a relationship for a long time, or you know how it is. So
yeah, and it is a choice, because I will say, like, I mean, we chose to be married, so that's like a lifetime commitment for us. Not everybody has that. So a lot of people and friends of ours, you get to choose every single day you're in a relationship how far you want this to go and how much you want it to change you.
Yeah.
You get to choose, because for some people, it's like, no, these are my boundaries and we're only going to walk so far. And then there's other people where it's like, what you want for your future drastically affects my future. So we're going to walk that road to the end, you know?
Yeah.
But everybody's different. Everybody's status is different.
Yeah. You never know until you have these conversations. You never know what might be in your partner's head until you ask. Sometimes it's just a question, and sometimes like it just takes a lot of bravery and vulnerability in general to be in a relationship in that really like growing stage.
And humility, because you're not here to fix them or change them. Or I'll say, in as much as you want to fix them, they can also change you.
Yeah. You're both just showing up 100% how you are. Like every single one of us is enough. A lot of us are like, oh, if you say this or if you say that, I feel like I'm not good enough. And it's like every single one of us has experienced like feeling that, I feel like. So it's like coming to the table knowing that you're enough just as you are. You don't need to figure this out all on your own.
Yes, and your partner is not a project, you know.
You have your wide eyes open because you're like,
I know people. I know people, and I've been in the scenario where it's like, if you just do it this way, and I'm like, stop. Your partner is the beloved.
Yeah.
Your partner matters all on their own. She matters all on her own. Like, I've had to learn to grow and respect the hell out of her and know that she's competent all on her own. And long before I ever got there. Even like when I'm like, drive carefully, you're like, I've been driving for longer than I've known you.
Right. Remember when we used to not be together? We could drive places on our own. So I say all of this with love because we've obviously.
Yes, we've been there. It's like, I got to remember, like, Megan is competent all on her own. She's capable all on her own. She'll ask me when she needs my help.
Same to you. It's like, okay, you're not a little baby. Like, I don't need to question, why isn't she doing it this way, or that,
Yes. And if I'm doing something that changes our life or creates chaos when there should be peace in our life, you and I have set up our lives in a way where we're having regular weekly conversations about the big stuff. You know? Like, we've made space. We've literally created a structure in our week where it's like, this day is set aside to have conversations regularly about all of these big things.
Yeah, and we make it fun. Like we go get coffee, we sit down, we say, okay, what's going on with our money? What's going on with our life goals? Like we make it fun. And
we talk about kids, we talk about sperm donors and cryobanks and all that stuff.
Yeah, we talk about jobs, we talk about
where do we want to live,
our goals. Yeah, and even starting that was a whole conversation in itself. So it just takes time. I think one last thing I'll say is John Deloney said it, Dr. John Deloney, when you're having a hard time emotionally, saying, the story I'm telling myself is that you don't do this and that, or you're thinking this way. And it's like just recognizing that it's all coming out of your brain. And it, so just setting that stage instead of like, let's gear up for war with each other, saying what I'm telling myself is XYZ, and you can tell me how you feel about it.
Right. Because you're building something together and you guys are on the same team. There's a truth that I realized when I was talking to my bestie, like after Megan and I got together. That was phenomenal being single. I was single for a long time. I traveled the world. I worked with nonprofits. I built really cool things. I was gigging more then than I am now. I had a phenomenal dog. I had great relationships. Like I was very happy and thriving as a single person, except for I was poor.
Me too. I was thriving too.
Good for you.
What else?
It's really easy to thrive when everyone's taking care of you. Anyway.
Roasting for no reason. Get what you're saying.
Anyway, I reached this point where with Megan, I was like, I am awesome all on my own. But I bet you I could build something really awesome with her too. And so we chose that, and we choose that every day. We choose to be awesome together, which means we choose to have space for these hard conversations, and we check our egos at the door.
Yeah, it makes you both better afterwards. It makes your life exponentially better getting through those conversations.
Okay, one last thing I will say.
Okay.
Because we are going to go. It is not going to help your relationship bottling it up inside. Like a lot of people think it's like noble. Oh, I'll just get over it. Oh, I'll kick the can down the road. But like, it's not like bottling up how you feel about something, especially these big things. It's going to come out. It's going to come out in a fight. It's going to come out passive aggressively. It's going to come out in microaggressions towards them.
Yeah.
It's going to come out, and they're going to feel it even if you don't tell them what is causing it. But they already know. They feel it in their body. Your partner is already feeling the tension in their body, so just have the conversations intentionally, because that's your teammate. That's your best friend. So work with them and go through those awkward conversations and those hard conversations, because on the other side, you could have magic.
You could have magic on the other side. I think that's perfect to end it with, because it's true. It's true. Go through the trench, not over it.
Why is always a trench? Also,
Finding
why
Nemo.
go through it? You could just jump over it. Oh,
because the jellyfish.
Oh, that's how young you are. I'm not like quoting Finding Nemo out here.
Okay. All right.
Your go-tos are like Finding Nemo, Shrek, Tangled.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Rugrats? Hello?
Well, thank you guys for coming to our place. I feel like we got a little bit like riled up in there, but
we did.
I don't know. Yeah.
I'm good.
You're good. Okay. Then I'm good too.
You're good because I'm good. That's unhealthy.
That's not a bad thing.
Okay, guys, we're going to go moderate a film festival right now. So we're going to go do that.
I don't think we mentioned that we were doing that.
If you don't know, now you know. We are moderators at the film festival.
The Slow Film Fest.
We're moderating at Slow Film Fest because our friend is running it. So she asked us if we wanted to help. We said, sure.
We said, yeah, we're nervous,
but we're nervous. We've never done this before, but we're going to go and introduce some films and eat some popcorn and
Watch a movie.
Watch a movie. So we'll see you guys next week.
See you next week.